Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. He went from accepting the nomination for re-election in Washington, D.C. to the Granite State for his first rally. And I spoke one-on-one with President Trump about some of the top issues of the moment.
Mr. President, for starters, true to form, you pulled no punches in that acceptance speech. Certainly all week long, Joe Biden taking a lot of incoming fire in the convention and from you on the podium there. Tell us, do you believe Joe Biden is a danger to the United States of America?
I don't think he's competent, and he's not ready to lead. He's lost that. I don't think he was ever ready to lead. If you look at his record, he made every mistake you could make, and this is over years. And no, I don't believe he's competent.
In New Hampshire, Mr. President, you have a lot of parents who are anxious about sending their kids back to school in this pandemic. Certainly you, as the father of a school-aged young man, can sympathize. Are their fears legitimate?
Well, New Hampshire, number one, is doing very, very well in terms of the, as I call it, the China virus. You have a great governor. He's doing an incredible job. Your numbers are very, very low. And young children just don't have very much of a problem. I mean, it's a tiny percentage of 1%. And you have to open up your state. You have to open up your country. And that's what we're doing. And we're doing it to record numbers. So, no, I think you absolutely have to open up your schools, have football and all of those things. But in New Hampshire in particular, your numbers are so low. The governor's done a great job, and other representatives.
And tell us, Mr. President, these people here love you. Speaking of the pandemic, they would do just about anything for you, right? There's a lot of faith that they place in you. Even taking every precaution here, there's still the danger of transmitting the virus. My question is, given that danger, why put these people, your people, at even the slightest risk?
Well, I don't want to have anybody have any risk, and these are incredible people. We have a very big venue. It's outdoor, or essentially outdoor, which I think is good. That's why we're doing it here instead of one of the arenas. You have some pretty good arenas in New Hampshire. We're doing it here for that reason. But no, we don't want any risk. You know, we have thousands of people lined up and down the runways, which are, I just said, why couldn't we have them come over? And the reason, they didn't want to have the crowd be too tight. So you had a lot of, you have a lot of distancing in there. But the great thing is New Hampshire's done so well, your numbers are very, very low.
Mr. President, the vice presidential nominee on the Democratic side, Kamala Harris, has called for the officer who shot Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to face criminal charges. Do you believe that officer was justified in that shooting?
Well, I'm looking into it very strongly. I'll be getting reports, and I'll certainly let you know pretty soon. But I'll be, it was not a good sight. I didn't like the sight of it, certainly, and I think most people would agree with that. But we'll be getting reports in very soon, and we'll report back then.
Mr. President, how do you solve the police violence problem, or is there a police violence problem?
Well, the problem is that if you have one bad policeman, or if you have a policeman that frankly chokes, they make a mistake, they choke. They could be in the force for a long time, but they were never under that pressure. For that 1 second, or less than a second, they have to make a decision. And if they make a bad decision, it's all over the world. What you don't see is the thousands and thousands of great decisions that are made where people are saved. So we have to understand that. I mean, people can make a mistake. It doesn't make them bad. They choke. Bad things happen, and it can happen. And we have to protect our police. We have to allow our police to have the respect that they used to have. And if you look at these Democrat-run cities, it's a disaster what's going on. The top 10 cities in terms of crime and violence are Democrat-run cities. And it's including Washington, D.C., by the way. You take a look at that. We have a mayor that doesn't know what she's doing. In New York, you have a mayor that doesn't know what he's doing. In Chicago, you have a mayor that's having a hard time. These are all Democrats, and in some cases, radical left Democrats. Take a look at Portland. That's another one. So, look, the Republicans have done a great job. We have great cities, and we have very low crime rates.
Last question here, Mr. President. You've had a lot to say about how this election is going to be administered in November. Here in New Hampshire, they've expanded absentee voting. It was a bipartisan decision of the governor and the legislature. There's going to be a lot more absentee voting. Your nominee to the Election Integrity Commission, Bill Gardner, said it's going to go smoothly. Do you believe that people, including yourself, should respect and accept the outcome of the election here in New Hampshire in November?
Well, I do, but absentee voting is much different than other states are talking about. They're talking about unsolicited, where thousands and even millions of ballots are sent to people. Absentee voting is a much different thing. I like absentee voting because you have to request and get it. That's good. You have to go through a process. But unsolicited voting, where they send millions of ballots out to people that they have no idea who the people are, what's going on. They have very little idea. if you take a look at what's happened, it's terrible. But with New Hampshire, I have great confidence in your governor. I think your governor's doing a great job, and I do like absentee is good. But if you're just going to take ballots that are sent, in a sense, indiscriminately to millions of people, nobody can be in favor of that, and it hasn't worked out well at all. But what you're doing in New Hampshire is absentee voting, and that's a good thing. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.